right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles, and elders of Great Millstone. Much respect to his brothers laboring worldwide in truth and sincerity. And salutations and blessings to the hopeful elect, believing on the words of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Title of this lesson is America Will Fall as Ancient Rome. And I have a video that I want to share regarding the parallels of ancient Rome and America. All right, because this is Rome 2.0. All right, from the legislation, all right, how they set up the Senate House, from the architecture. This is Rome 2.0. And Lord willing, this video is going to be edifying. All right, I want to start out with a scripture. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, and verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And we're in the time that the Lord is plucking up Esau, all right? And he's planting the nation of Israel, okay? He's establishing the house of David once again. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. And again, we're witnessing this, the breaking down of this system, all right, and the building up of the nation of Israel, the elect of the nation of Israel, right? A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. I want to jump down to verse 15 because there's nothing new under the sun, right? This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 15. That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and the Most High requireth that which is past. So these things that's already been, as in um, kingdoms, all right? These things are reincarnated like scenarios. So let's watch this video. Again, Lord willing to be edifying. All right. And I do not own, matter of fact, let's play this. This is the Fair Use Copyright Act. All right. Let's see if we can get this thing full screen. Okay. This is Fair Use Copyright Act. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. All right. I do not own this video. This is for educational purposes only. Okay. Lord willing, it'll play.
I often hear comparisons of the USA with Rome, and that the United States of America are the new Rome, decadent, old, corrupt, decayed, like the Western Roman Empire in the end stages of its existence. But is that true? Well, let's try to look at some similarities that the US shares with the late Roman Empire, but let's also look at some differences and then let's try to come to a conclusion. Let us first start with the similarities. 1. Social inequality. A feature that the United States shares with the late Roman Empire is a very large gap between rich and poor. The Gini coefficient is a measure for the inequality of a society, where one is an absolutely unequal society, where one person would have everything and everybody else nothing, and zero is a perfectly equal society where every person has exactly the same amount of wealth. It is sometimes also given in percent, so value between 0 and 100. Ancient Rome had an incredibly high 0.43 or 43, and the US comes in at 41, almost as high as Rome. So while that does sound bad, we should keep in mind that the US ranks only on place 54 worldwide regarding income inequality, and there are many other countries with a lot higher inequality. But still, the US is quite unequal comparable to ancient Rome. Second, bread and games, panem et circenses. The ancient Romans had the gladiatorial games, where famously the gladiators would combat against each other or against wild beasts to the death. Now, you might think that modern Americans don't have an equivalent, but where indeed people are not killed for sports anymore, brutal fighting sports are still quite widespread. Boxing apparently was not brutal enough, so at some point UFC was introduced, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where modern day gladiators are not quite fighting to the death, but sometimes also not too far away, as severe injuries are quite common in that sport. Watching people brutally fight while sitting on a comfortable couch and eating chips, the modern day equivalent of panem.
Or bread and circus, right? And we just don't see that with UFC. We see that in football, baseball, basketball. All of those things are bread and circus, meaning to keep the people distracted from the decay of this empire. Okay?
And if that is not brutal enough, luckily the degree of violence in modern day TV shows has been gradually increased in the last decades so that the modern day American can get his dose of violence, just like the old Romans. Brutal beheadings and other atrocities are now being portrayed as a standard in many TV series, as if it was the most normal thing, whereas this would have raised some serious eyebrows only 25 years ago. And in another 25 years, who knows? So, no, there are no gladiatorial games yet, but Panem et Circenses, yes, very much. And please like this video and subscribe so that you won't.
And again, this is Rome 2.0. All right. Excuse me. And we're seeing Rome fall. Salaki, that spirit. We're seeing America fall as ancient Rome did. All right. The money is being devalued. And this guy's going to go on to bring up the homeless situation. Matter of fact. Let's continue the video.
His name, I certainly do thank you. Gratias a tibi, amici. 3. Poverty. After the crisis of the 3rd century, but especially in the last decades of the Western Roman Empire, more and more people of the Imperium were poor and had to live on the lowest of the existence scale. Beggars, homelessness, and other forms of poverty became more widespread as the old glory days of the empire had slowly faded. Compare this to modern day American cities such as Los Angeles and San Francisco, where
I just did a lesson regarding homelessness in America, a plague sent by Yahawashi. All right, and it's reaching our way here in Alabama. Okay, well, after heading down 2059 in Tuscaloosa, there's a growing homeless encampment, man, right off the freeway. Okay,
where homelessness is rampant. Thousands upon thousands of people live in the most appalling conditions, where even third world countries are having a hard time replicating this. And quite bizarrely, this all takes place with a backdrop of technological splendor, skyscrapers, and the lofty homes of the rich. The income inequality is very much visible in many US cities and shows itself more and more often from its ugliest side.
can you imagine when the lights go out? Those homeless people are going to go and invade those high and lofty people in those condos, in those high rises. Okay, that's addition.
Side. 4. Decay. I quite often already talked about the state of the city of Rome in the late 5th and early 6th centuries AD. The glory days were over and Rome had to
The glory days are over for modern day Rome, America, Babylon the Great. What they call them, the roaring 50s, right? They after the war, World War II, they had um, they had everything at the beck and call. All right, and it's been a slow decline since then. Okay, because everything happens in a process. When you hop by shower shot, it's not instant. All right, it grows.
endure three brutal sacks in the 5th century. The population had dropped dramatically, and many parts of the city would now slowly start to fall into decay. I talked extensively about the state of Rome during those times in these videos here. Now let us look at modern day American cities such as Detroit, Philadelphia, and many others. There is widespread decay, and many parts of these cities fall into disrepair, while only some parts are being maintained and look nice. Especially outlying regions or poor areas are left to decay and fall completely into ruin. Sounds quite familiar, doesn't it? Exactly like Rome after around AD 500, where the outlying parts of the city would start to fall into disrepair, while only the inner parts were being repaired and maintained. Many American cities seem to be following the late Romans in that regard. 5. Constant wars. The late
Slovakia, the elder brother, our room brought this information out. Believe out of 239 years of America being established, out of those 239 years, 222 of those years have been war. Okay, see the parallels are playing out. The thing that have been is that what shall be. And again, what's just seeing the fall of this empire, man. Okay, the things the Lord said was going to come to pass. Matter of fact, real quick, let's get the scriptures. Then we'll go back to the video. Make sure I'm sharing. Okay. This is Second Ezra chapter 9. And we're gonna start at verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. See, the Lord declared the downfall of America, Babylon the Great from the beginning. It says, for like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So we're at the end of this man's kingdom. And it's being manifest, all right, through these different things, through the infrastructure decaying, all right, through the whoredom, the moral decay, which this place has never been moral, but it's now the wickedness has now increased above that which we now see. Okay, from from the money. All right, the money, the infrastructure, the so-called moral code that this nation has. All of it is declining. All right, and is being made manifest at the end. Verse 6. Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. See, and endings in effects and signs, and that's what we're witnessing the signs. All right, let's go back to the video. Just make sure we share. All right. Again, constant wars. Okay. America has been in constant war. Again, that stat that the elder brother Alron has shared, out of the 239 years of America being established, 222 of those years have been in war.
In that regard. 5. Constant wars. The late Roman Empire found itself entrenched in constant warfare. From the crisis of the 3rd century to the last years of the Western Roman Empire, and later continuing in the Eastern Roman Empire, there was almost constant warfare. The United States, after being established only 246 years ago as of release of this video, also found itself entrenched in constant warfare. War of independence, war against the British, war against Mexico, war against the Native American population, then a great civil war, then war against the Spanish, then World War One, World War Two, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq first time, Afghanistan, Iraq second time. If you would add up the duration of all of these wars, it would be around 150 years, more than half of the existence of that nation. The Temple of Janus would have been open more often than closed in American history, reminding us very much of the Roman Empire.
See, again, the parallels are not coincidence. It's the Lord giving us signs to understand this is the revised Roman Empire. All right, that deadly wound was healed. Okay, and they when they came back into power during the Renaissance, they established the government. All right, they established their way. All right, scriptures tell us that when they came into power, wickedness increased upon the planet Earth. Right? Well, it has a source, which is the Edomites, man, so-called white people, simply put.
6. Social polarization. In the late Roman Empire, one would think that the Romans would have united against the barbarian invaders, but nay, they were busy fighting each other in endless civil wars and also fighting each other in everyday life, especially Christians versus pagans. They both blamed each other for the barbarian invasions, and there was massive social polarization in the last decades of the Western Roman Empire.
Now, he said Christians against the pagans, right? Which was basically those two established religions, all right, in ancient Rome. Well, guess what? These things are happening again. But the real Christians, all right, the real Hamashiachim, all right, the ones who follow Yahawashi, they're going to be the ones persecuted in that time. Remember, I believe it was Emperor Nero set Rome on fire, all right, and blame the Christians or the Israelites, man, all right, to initiate the persecution, all right, and as kingdoms, all right, are reincarnated scenarios are too. That's why this devil is going to come down with great wrath because he know that he had but a short time.
Empire. We can witness something very similar in the current US, where there is growing polarization, not only with regard to its two largest parties that drift apart from the center more and more, but also among the general population, where an outright culture war is going on. Growing political divide, blaming each other for the problems of society. That is something which the Romans would have immediately recognized. And
See, so that's your how by Shai giving us, signs to understand where we at in these prophecies. All right, all these things are coming to pass. Why? Because the Lord said they were. All right, let's get the scriptures. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 47. I'm gonna start at verse 7. Now you read up. The Lord is talking to who? These Edomites. All right, the virgin daughter of Babylon. All right, and who's the virgin daughter of Babylon? Esau, Edom. All right, you can find that precept Psalms 137 and 7 on down. All right, that virgin daughter of Babylon is Edom. Okay, so this is Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 7. It says, you know what? Let's start at 6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou heavily laid thy yoke. Yeah, these damn devils don't care how old or young, man. They just wanna they just fascinated with blood, especially the blood of the children of Israel. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. You ain't think about, all right, the Lord of hosts bringing you down. You thought your kingdom was going to continue forever. It says, therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, you seen that decadence, all right, that they got described in the first, let's say symptoms of America being destroyed, right? It says, therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. And that's what this damn devil do. That what they come up with the make America great again, build back better, right? But these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantment. See, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. See that? Thou hast said, none see of me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. Thou hast said in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. And that's Esau's mindset. He think he's the most high. He's lifted up in pride. All right, from the wisdom and knowledge that Yahawashi gave him to establish himself in the planet Earth. See? Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. See, this thing was happening in a process. All right. And it's being made manifest in its perfection. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. So this build back better, make America great again. You can't put this off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly. Thou shalt not know. See, Second Ezra chapter 5. And let's see. Let's start at verse 41. All right, because you think you're getting away, but no, the Lord has everything set up in his own time. Matter of fact, before we get that, Second Ezra chapter 4 and verse 37, as we read earlier in the Ecclesiastes, there's a time, all right, and a place for everything. This is Ecclesiastes, Second Ezra chapter 4, verse 37. By measure have he measured the times, and by number have he numbered the times, and he doeth not move nor stir them till the said measure be fulfilled. See? So is the Lord having this place fall and decay in his own time, and the prophecies have to play out. So Second Ezra chapter 5 and verse 41, and I said, Behold, O Lord, yet art thou nigh unto them that be reserved till the end. And what shall they do that have been before me? Or we that be now, or they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So these things had to play out. Esau had to get to his height, all right, to his pinnacle of his system, and the Lord started bringing this damn devil down. All right. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. And who is the proud in spirit? Esau, so-called white man. But again, the first part of the scripture say, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. And we're seeing the end of this man's rulership playing out by the same signs that happened in ancient Rome, right? Revelation chapter 18. And I'm going to start at verse 5. No, I'm going to start at verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partaker of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Yeah, this her is America, Babylon the Great. All right. And the Lord is telling us to come out of the ways of America. All right. Have a renewed mindset so we will not experience her plagues. Right. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Reward her, even as she have rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. And the cup which she have filled, fill to her double. Yeah, you getting all that back, and it's going to be double. It says, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously. Remember, we seen in that first clip the decadence. All right, the same thing is playing out here. It says, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow, right? And pride. Therefore shall her players come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. But those ICBM missiles. For strong is the Lord power who judges her. That's right. These things are now coming upon her in her perfection, man. All right, from the homelessness to the inflation, right, to the devaluing of the dollar. All right, you see, I seen a article the other day that the U.S. petrol dollar has fell so much that now the euro is on par with the petrol dollar. All right, at one point in time, that petrodollar was able to trump all type of currency, but no more. Why? Because the Lord is bringing this place down. Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy, and we're seeing the fall of our enemy. Again, when you fall, it's a process. It's not something that it quickly happens. All right, and it was a process in ancient Rome. It's going to be a process in Rome 2.0. America, Babylon the Great, that great whore. Right. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgressive increase, and that's why you see the whole world out of course. All right, moles everywhere, transformers everywhere. Right. But the righteous shall see their fall. And that's what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the fall of our enemy. All right, being brought by Yahawashi, the Lord of hosts. Okay. That's gonna be it for the lesson. Lord willing has been edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles, and elders, great millstone. Lord willing, come next you with another lesson. Till the next time I say Shalom, DTA, and a Bible ball. Shalom.